Patrons, welcome back to the IR4 podcast. We hope you had a great Thanksgiving. Jeremy's back from Iceland with no beard.
I'm back.
I don't know what happened up there.
I missed you guys.
I'm surprised you aren't still up there. Like, they would adopt you as like a Viking, like Leif Erikson and all that.
There was a lot of Leif Erikson statues,
Yeah.
actually. There were tons. No, man. They didn't adopt me.
Well, he's back.
I was hoping.
And today we have Lance Goodman, who will be joining us, talking about the crypto economy and kind of where we're going and everything like that.
Thanks for being here, man.
Absolutely. Iceland's a weird place to get rid of your beard, though. Since you waited, like, maybe when you got back?
No, I got back. As soon as I got back, I shaved it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I had like the full-on, cool man beard the whole time. It kept me warm because it was cold there. It was very, very, very cold.
So, Lance,
very cold.
One, can you just describe what you do as an entrepreneur and kind of how you got started in your business life? And then second question is the Bitcoin rabbit hole question. How'd you get involved?
Yeah, who are you?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting when you're an entrepreneur. It's hard to answer that question to a finite answer.
Yeah.
But I guess I first started out. My first venture was real estate development. So basically created some projects from scratch, and then went out and basically took a idea from the West Coast of developing office condos and demising them and selling them. Class A office space, and it was a big hit here in town, and
nice.
That got me kind of exposed to the entrepreneurial world and how you can turn some sweat equity into a great return. So I've always been looking for new opportunities where there's kind of blue oceans and emerging markets, and that's always been something that's always attracted me. And that's the reason why crypto and digital assets is so intriguing. I fell into the trap and I can't get enough.
I do feel like a lot of crypto or Bitcoin adopters have some type of their own entrepreneurial experience, whether that's day trading or starting their own company. But I do see that theme.
Or a lacrosse company.
Or
they could have created one of those.
Going from sports into cryptocurrency. But I think it's because the amount of work that's needed to get involved, the amount of studying to really know
initially,
what to do. Right. The onboarding process is still challenging for a lot of mainstream people or sheeple, how we like to call them. And I think those onboarding processes need to get better throughout time. How does that? I guess this question goes out to both of you. How does that look in terms of mass adoption? And we're talking about crypto economies. Are we moving totally away from fiat and the way we work into a crypto land? And what are the verticals that will be built in with blockchain? I mean, healthcare, finance, and all that.
Yeah, we definitely got to get into that. Like that's going to be the big central focus of I think today is like what is it doing for the economy? Because a lot of people say, oh, it's not backed by anything. It's just, it's a bubble. It's hysteria.
Fugazi, it's Fugazi. Yeah. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, it's just a wind. So what is it? We got to talk about that discussion. Like, what's it going to do? The mass adoption is going to slowly start coming in from, actually, recently, Fidelity has allowed now their customers to...
I think I did see that.
Yeah, to be able to access Coinbase. And we've mentioned Coinbase a few times as one of the primarily easy methods for newer traders to get involved in cryptocurrencies. But
by the way, Coinbase just had another 100,000 people register last Black Friday, I believe.
Wow.
Another 100,000. So that congestion's getting more.
It's getting worse.
More and more and more.
And what was the numbers they had at the beginning of this year? They had maybe 130,000 active users on Coinbase. And was it like 13 million?
Already?
I just read that article.
That's insane.
Wow.
I mean, and Elon Musk is Satoshi Nakamoto.
Who would have thought?
Did you see that today?
No, is that the rumor that came out?
Yeah, but he quickly denied it.
Of course he would.
Yeah,
why would suspicious now? It could be him. I wouldn't doubt it.
Do you think it was the government?
No. Yeah, you never know.
No, there's a group of people, man.
There's a group of people.
Group of just nomads.
I don't think it would be the government because it's an existential threat to their regulatory environment.
Ooh, yeah.
So why would they create something, or maybe they funded it and it got slowly dispersed by this strange character that no one knows exactly who it was.
It's going to make a great movie.
We were talking... think of all the movies and the books that would be written and made about this exact era we're living in.
Yeah.
We were talking off camera about like the Federal Reserve or the Department of Treasury creating their own coin. Do you think that's possible?
Well, for any government entity to be on the forefront of technology is almost impossible for them. So, they're with the way the bureaucracy works in government, it's almost impossible for them to be substantively launched. They're always late to the game, no matter what they're doing. As far as regulation goes, or whatever mechanism that they get involved in, they're always late to the game.
I think one great thing they're doing though is not stifling innovation. They're doing a great job allowing this to become what it is, because they could come back tomorrow and just say, "Hey, we're done with all this."
How they stifle it?
They're not. They're not stifling.
How would they?
How would they?
Yeah.
Ban it. Ban
cryptocurrency. How? That would make the demand even go up, in my opinion.
Yes, but that means you would have to get on the dark web and start accessing cryptocurrencies that way. You're telling me that,
I told you we do need a dark web specialist at some point, right?
Yes, we do need a
we
dark
do.
web.
That's
you know anything about the dark web?
Possibly. Actually, maybe.
Because that's something I know zero about.
Yeah, and that's deep. Like, if you ever look at what goes on in the dark web, then there's another one. I forget what it's called, but there's another layer. No. And that's where the government entities operate.
No way.
Yes. I swear.
Basically, the dark web is just using a browser that can't be traced.
Yeah, it scrambles your IP address.
So it scrambles your IP address to where you can freely search and
whatever
you want. Anything you want on the internet without having it.
So that's not the browser. You can go to Google and you can just private browser or something.
Yeah. Oh, you can't use Google's, but
interesting.
I don't think
there are other ones.
Yeah, Tor. Like, it's called Tor.
Yeah.
I don't think that the government will impose any type of regulations or any type of bans that will hurt where this industry's going.
Why wouldn't they, though? Isn't it in their best interest to do that?
Well, here's why.
I don't think so.
It's because these large-scale entities are getting involved now, and they're making a lot of money. Mm-hmm. And their lobbying power to the bureaucrats in Washington, D.C. will allow them to continue to make money in this new emerging market that we've never seen before. And because of having these institutional funds, now that it's reached a critical mass to where they're going to keep the good times rolling for the foreseeable future. And the only way that they will try and co-opt it at some point with like making their own currencies or their own coin. But I would say where you're going to see that the most, it's going to be a smaller country that's like really on the forefront, like Hong Kong or something like that,
or Turkey.
Or maybe Turkey.
And that's just what the government is saying. Hey, we're making our own coin and we're going to release it.
And it will happen through necessity too. It's kind of like Venezuela has unbelievable inflation.
So
they've turned to crypto and a way to fight that. They're literally heating their homes with stacks of their fiat currency right now. And this happened, in Germany at the start of World War I.
Yep.
So
Zimbabwe.
And you've seen these huge, massive inflation. Well, this is a hedge or a way to protect yourself if you're in a volatile, inflated country that's a smaller country. And I think through what we're seeing in like a case study in Venezuela, there will be a country that has more freedom and it's not bogged down by bureaucracy that will be able to create the first substantive coin for that particular country.
What if a country's government actually sanctioned it and said, "Hey, we are adopting cryptocurrency and we're creating a Mexican cryptocurrency and we're calling it this, and the government is supporting it"? What if that happens? That's insane.
Here's another reason why you won't see that for the foreseeable future is because to be a part of the international banking community, you have to play by a set of guidelines and rules that every country kind of has to abide by.
Okay.
With like the International Monetary Fund,
IMF.
Which had an article come out.
So if this small kind of a country that's kind of agile, that's not bogged down by bureaucracy, that wants to create their own currency, well, there's going to be massive repercussions from the international banking community for them doing so. Now, like Russia's got enough wherewithal within the global community to where they can kind of be on the forefront and try some different things. But I think to successfully do that, it would have to be a smaller country. But they don't have the pull necessarily to kind of lobby the international banking community that really runs the world. And this is a huge, huge existential threat to them and the Federal Reserve and the centralization of all transactions.
With these smaller countries, Lance, you still have the World Bank and the IMF. let's go back to the article released, 2 weeks ago or last week? 2 weeks ago, with the IMF talking about the importance of digital currencies.
Yeah. Basically, it's reached a critical mass where they have to take it seriously. So it's kind of like the evolution of any kind of emerging technology or any kind of disruptive force. They deny it, deflect it, demagogue it until it reaches a critical mass where they have to accept it, and then they try and co-opt it, right? So the larger international forces at play that kind of run a lot of our lives, whether we know it or not, like the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, and so they've denied, but Christine Lagarde came out with an article saying that digital assets and digital currency is undeniable, and it's
can't be ignored anymore.
And she didn't really call it an existential threat. If you read between the lines, is basically what she's saying. But she basically more talks about how it has to be accepted and it has to evolve in a way where it can mature in a progressive way where it works with governments and where it kind of all works together, where we can go from fiat currency we currently have to different digital options, and their only path forward is to accept it and work towards some kind of regulatory control over it, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
No, it's not. I mean, because right now what's happening is you have the currency market, the foreign exchange, Forex,
right,
which is the biggest market in the world. It's 4 times the size of the bond market and 25 times the size of the stock market.
And what's it trade? I mean, it trades trillions of dollars every day.
29 trillion a day.
Whew.
So, but what we're saying is that if it becomes regulated, right, and you're going from country to country, across borders, things of that nature, the volatility calms down, but there's still opportunities for investors to make money from it. I mean, people trade Forex every day. So that I'm saying, it's like, just because they regulate it, a lot of people are saying regulation is bad, but if anything, regulation could make Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, all these solid coins just more legitimate,
more credible. Absolutely.
And then their price goes higher because more people buy them.
Yep.
Very good point. And I want you to share with everyone the text that you sent out this morning, because if you guys, they're going to be watching this after this recording, but Bitcoin just hit over 10K today.
Woo.
Just over 10K.
Party. We're having a 10K party.
But we were calling that.
Yeah.
Jeremy more than me, because he's been looking at the trends and everything, but we're making those predictions.
I'll put it this way. You pushed me to make that prediction because I didn't even think it was possible. And when I was talking to you, I was like, I need to put some hours into this.
And you did.
And shoot, dude, it was unbelievable.
$10,000 per Bitcoin.
Would you guys have liked to be in the 10-cent club?
Oh, man. I would love to meet someone in the 10-cent club.
Yeah, I do.
But tell everyone what we were talking about today.
So here's kind of my thought in that, just in regards to the size of the market. So we have $200 trillion right now in cash. I'll say cash in quotes. In stocks, so this is a cumulative. 200 did I say million? Trillion. 200 trillion with a T. That's 4 commas. Quattro commas. Okay.
Is that a club you can be in?
Well, actually,
it's like the 3 comma club in Silicon Valley.
Yeah. The Quattro comma club. You have $200 trillion in stocks, gold, bonds, and currencies. Just parked right now in cash. No, it's not doing anything. It's just sitting there. Now, we can all kind of make the argument that the stock market's at all-time highs. All these are kind of overvalued. Gold, no one cares about anymore. It's not very sexy. It's just whatever. There's no, as Warren Buffett described it, you have all the gold in the entire world and it just sits there.
Right.
It doesn't do anything.
Unless you're wearing it.
You attribute your value to it. It doesn't. Yeah, I mean, it's just gold. So $200 trillion, if only 2% of that $200 trillion would shift into cryptocurrency.
Just 2%.
2% of this $200 trillion. That would make the market cap of the current crypto sphere go to $13 trillion. It'll be 13x. 13 times how big it is right now. Just 2% shift.
And that is totally feasible to happen.
Very feasible. Yeah, very feasible. I mean, the whole world right now, I would say, less than 1% is involved in Bitcoin.
Well, and that's what really brought us together. I don't know if we want to get into this right now, but
why not?
Was
let's talk about
the onboarding process, right?
Yeah.
And my just personal experience of, I wanted to do research, and I understand I have a software development company, so I was intrigued by blockchain to begin with. So I wanted to learn a lot about it. And then when I got to a point where I actually wanted to take a dive in and own some assets, I found out that there's so much fragmentation of what exchange to use, what wallets to store it in, how do you safely and securely do it, then what coin do you buy, how much of it do you buy,
how do you buy it,
how do you expose your portfolio. So I had to do hundreds of hours of research before I even made my first purchase. And we all came, when we all got together and started talking about
because why did we come together? Because you watched one of our podcasts.
Hey! Bam!
and now I'm on it.
And now you're on it. See what can happen? See what can happen? Anything's possible.
Anything's possible. Yeah.
So we start talking. Sorry to interrupt you. I just had to plug there.
No, that's awesome. But then, so I have all these conversations with these high net worth individuals, with these guys that are like, we're playing golf at a country club, and they're like, oh, so you're into this Bitcoin stuff now, huh? Like, I keep hearing everyone's making a bunch of money. How do I get involved? And these guys don't have 500 hours to spend researching this.
No.
They've got their checkbook, and they want exposure of their portfolio into this so they can brag on the 19th hole over a beer how much money they made on Ethereum and Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And it's just where they just want to diversify and get a little taste, dip their toe in the water, but they don't have all the time and energy they don't want to be experts. They want to give their money to experts, which creates the opportunity that we're all pursuing.
Right.
And it's to make it easy for retail investors to get involved without having to be an expert, without having to worry about safety concerns or getting hacked or where to store it, and they can just get the upside.
Agreed. And with that said, though, the onboarding process, those challenges can be alleviated, right? And when those are alleviated, it becomes easier to get exposure inside cryptocurrencies. Think about how the acceleration rate then. We're talking about $10,000 today. Jeremy does his analysis like he always does. The golden child knows what he's doing. What are you saying for next year?
So here's the scary part, man. Do it, and then I'm going to have you bring up what you said earlier.
But before this prediction, I want everyone. This is a currency. This is a digital asset.
Yeah.
This isn't the internet. This isn't a stock. We can't appropriately value and track this because we've never seen anything like it. So everyone wants to talk about it's a bubble, it's a bubble, it's a bubble, it's a bubble.
Yeah.
This is a new technology that people are starting to value more and more and more.
Yeah, and so the reason that people are calling it a bubble is, number one, it's moving unlike anything in the history of the
in history.
Really never been another opportunity like this that I can think of that's comparable.
And so it's moving unlike anything. The challenge is what's occurring when people use the word bubble. So they don't study bubbles. I'm a bubble specialist. It's one of the things I work on. I've spent hundreds and hundreds of hours studying bubbles. Everything from the tulip bubble to the stock market crash in 2000 to .com bubble, housing bubble. The problem with bubbles is they crash, they crack, right? You have this parabolic hyperextension move, and then they crumble.
But you don't think Bitcoin looks like that?
No, because they've had 50% pullbacks, and then they make a new high. And then they have 40% pullbacks, and then they go higher. The thing is, they're having healthy, correctional, very okay moves.
But it's happening very, very quickly.
Sure. That's okay. So yeah, we'll have a bigger pullback. We'll have the 60%. That'll occur. But that might go from 30,000 to 15,000. So to answer your question, one of my predictions this year,
that's moving a lot.
2018, Bitcoin will absolutely hit over $30,000.
$30,000.
Absolutely, without question. 100%.
Now
it's going to triple by the end of 2018 is what you're saying.
Correct.
The last prediction we made on this podcast was 10 before the end of 2017. And
which I thought... I was a little bit of a stretch. I was like, it's going to get close.
What are you guys, oracles? How did you know that?
It wasn't even close.
You called it right.
It wasn't even close.
It was before December.
Yeah.
Before December.
Unbelievable.
We got another month to go. It could go another 2K.
It's going to hit 12 by the end of the year.
Oh, man.
Unreal, man. It's incredible. So, I mean, and that, dude, honestly, 30,000 might be low. 30,000 could be low. My 30,000 is like a conservative estimate. Well, I'm talking it could be 60.
Is that recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. I mean, this is some awesome content.
I agree. So it's just an exciting environment, and people, like you mentioned, they want to get in. They want access. They want it to be easier, and the only way it's going to become easier, in my opinion, is like bigger people start adopting it. But then you have these entrepreneurs, people who are hungry, who create exchanges and websites and funnels and just information like they do now. Because at the end of the day, I know people want to, get rich and go, hey, here's my money, I don't have to do anything else, right? People want that. But this might be the one time in history where if you can hold long enough, you might make some serious money.
Transfer of wealth.
It's going to be huge.
It's an existential transfer of wealth.
Here's what's crazy, guys. So that gave me goosebumps, and I'm just going to explain really quickly why. There have been about 15 authors in the last 2 years come up with the market's going to crash. You're going to have the biggest transfer of wealth in human history. They're predicting the market to crash, which is fine.
Because why?
We're a debt bubble. We're $22 trillion in debt in the U.S. And there's a lot of other factors.
A lot of other factors.
Travesty, yes. So there's a lot of other factors, and I'm talking. I feel bad naming the authors because off the top of my head I can't remember all of them, but regardless, they're mentioning the market's going to crash. Again, I'm a market specialist. I do study bubbles, and the equity market's kind of in a little bit of a bubble right now. It's a little. Yeah, we haven't had a 10% pullback in like years.
Oh, wow.
Since like 2015, August 2015. So anyway, but what I'm getting at is they're saying that there's going to be the biggest transfer of wealth in human history right around the corner. The goosebump part is, what if that's happening right now, but it's not with stocks? It's with currencies, cryptocurrencies. What if the biggest transfer of wealth is happening right now to the young, and the millennials become the most powerful generation in history?
Everyone knocks on the millennials.
Woo! We're all millennials. We're making money. We're making a lot of money. Yeah. That's what if this is happening? But what if the stock market does crash and it goes down 20%? Are millennials going to buy stocks?
Hell no.
Or
dun, dun, dun.
And so then cryptocurrency could even go even higher. And so I'm a lover of stocks. I love stocks. I always love the markets. But this is something that, again, the longer I study it, the more I'm just baffled because it's almost unexplainable, but it's amazing.
It's so true. And during my deep dive into like understanding blockchain and how the technology behind the cryptocurrencies is so valuable and has such a wide range of applicable uses.
Yeah, I want to get to that.
Okay.
The blockchain? Keep going.
But what I was going to say is when, just informing myself from all these different avenues of trying to absorb information about it and watching a hedge fund manager talk about how, like, if you get on TD Ameritrade today and you buy stock, you're not even really buying that stock. TD Ameritrade only has to have access to that stock to trade it through a clearinghouse, and then they only pay net at the end of the month. So you're not actually ever buying a stock.
True.
So blockchain can allow securities and stocks to be transferred because what there's a lot of duplication at the clearinghouses. I think there was one merger and acquisition, multi-billion-dollar. I forgot the company now. I want to say it was like a food company of some kind. But basically, they had so many extra shares of stock out there because there was no like intrinsic way to track the issuance of these stocks. So it like messed up the entire merger. But with blockchain technology, that would never happen again. Man. Clearinghouses will not exist anymore.
So here's the two questions I have about the application of blockchain, because that's really what we want to talk about in this particular podcast, as well as the economies of the blockchains and everything like that. So here's the two questions I have. My two questions. You're mentioning applications of blockchain technology. So what other applications are there for blockchain technology? And if blockchain technology and applications for blockchain technology become bigger, will that automatically be a correlation to strictly Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies? I mean, just because blockchain's better, will that make cryptocurrencies on the blockchain better correlatedly?
I think so. I think I could dive in more to the first question than I could the second.
That's fair.
I can cover the second.
And here's the application question is, so when you're trying to find the preeminent expert in blockchain worldwide, right? You only find a guy with maybe 6 years of it, or a person with 6 years of experience. That's the preeminent expert, right? Yeah. So there's nobody that actually knows kind of the existential application of this and how it's going to grow. There's no one that can really forecast this. There is no empirical evidence of 20 and 30 years to go off of. So are the people like you're going to ask me, like, well, who am I to say where blockchain is going to go? But just knowing the core technology components of this, I mean, the applications in the medical, we're in Nashville right now. This is the healthcare hub of the world. It's where billions and billions of dollars of healthcare companies exist, right? Yeah. More than any other place in the whole world.
And a lot of Bitcoin stuff.
And
BTC Media.
A ton of Bitcoin. But
shout out to BTC Media.
Absolutely.
Cross Todd. Yep. IR4 podcast.
Exactly. And what's crazy about it is in the medical industry with the transfer, so everyone's trying to wrap their head around like when you go get an X-ray done, how can another specialist or a doctor, without taking another X-ray and another X-ray, and then everybody's billing the same insurer for 3 X-rays, when all you could do is pass some digital file with everyone's information through a blockchain apparatus of some kind, and everyone could not only own their own medical records, but then they could give it to any kind of specialist or doctor that they want to go see. So it just changes the whole paradigm of how information is passed back and forth in so many different industries. So it's going to be such a disruptive force.
Wow. I think, and I totally agree with that, I think right now what we have seen is the base layer foundation has been laid. And there's been some great layers, and there's been some shit coins that have been scammy. But now we can avoid those pitfalls.
Yeah, and like I said, that's okay. There's been shit stocks too.
You're going to have losers to make sure you can measure winners.
Yeah.
Well, this fundamental level that we've created, the blockchain developers have created for the past 6 years, will now allow sprouting of verticals. So we're talking about individual industries. Healthcare is being disruptive. Lance and I were talking with the music guy today. Insane opportunities in the music industry.
Yeah, and I want to get him on the podcast too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But obviously the industry that's being disrupted the most is the financial industry, because people are putting worth to these things.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of growth there. But think of the automotive, the health, all of it. It's just insane.
It really is.
Oh.
And really, and that's why you see this convergence of institutional capital and these different venture capital funds. They're trying to find things to throw money at.
Yes.
They're throwing shots in the dark right now. They're investing in really substantive ideas and concepts too, or just angel ideas too. I mean, they have funds. They just want to be involved, and you see this mad rush. It's literally like the Wild West right now.
It is.
And you're gonna have some bad actors when there's something emerging out of thin air that's gonna be in the trillions of dollars.
Thin air, Lance.
Out of thin air. $1 trillion industry. It's never been done before in the history of mankind like it is right now. And that's why it's so mind blowing. And then once you really. Once you think you got your mind wrapped around it, you just begun.
Yeah.
I got a cool question for you, really quick, for you to answer that. Put that in your brain.
Okay, I was going to answer the second question you asked him. Go ahead, though. I have so much information.
I know. That second question is so you, too. You're going to be honest.
Someone asked me, what is the first $1 trillion company? Or what's going to have the first $1 trillion market cap? Like, as far as a company goes.
Mm-hmm.
Company. Apple,
mm-hmm.
Facebook, Bitcoin.
Where's Amazon at?
I'm sorry, Amazon. We can put Amazon on there, sure. They're close. They're very close.
And Bitcoin.
Google. These 5.
And then Bitcoin.
Bitcoin, yeah. Which one do you think's going to hit first?
We're at 200 billion, just over 200 billion right now.
Well, that's a unique comparison, too, because Bitcoin is a decentralized company. It's like everybody owns a little bit of it. It's like a shareholder, but and where there's no centralized entity, right? It's a community.
The reason I asked because you talked about the $1 trillion.
Well, but that's what's so amazing about it. You're exactly right. And those would have never happened if there wasn't a huge technology innovation that was a catalyst for all of them.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that all 5 of them have in common is a technology catalyst.
What is it? What is it going to be? What do you think? You're studying those other 4.
I study those other 4 a lot, but that's the thing is I was like,
Bezos just became the $100 billion man.
Correct. I said Apple quickly. That'd be my first instinct because they have more cash on hand than Bitcoin's market cap. To give you some perspective, they have $257 billion in cash.
Also stored offshore, but that might be a different podcast.
I was going to bring it up.
Can we appropriately value these 4 companies and their cash on hand versus digital currency?
Well, but I'm saying the first to reach $1 trillion.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying. Bitcoin will absolutely surpass all 4 of those companies combined.
I cannot wait.
Soon.
I cannot wait.
Within 2 years, it'll happen. But I think Apple probably reaches $1 trillion first, followed by either Amazon or Facebook, and then Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin is going to surpass all of them. It's just going to make this crazy jump when it gets to 60, 70,000.
Mm-hmm. Here's my visionary outlook.
We wanted this.
And I'm going to answer the second question. You're getting a lot of content right now. Think about the time when Apple and Amazon and Google will no longer be valued in fiat U.S. dollars, and Bitcoin will be no longer valued in U.S. dollars. Wait until people are paid and transact and pay their bills and invest in Bitcoin. Then it becomes denominations of Bitcoin. And by the way, it goes
Shoot,
to
I never
4
thought of
decimal
that.
places, right? So when you're a merchant, you're going to be selling a loaf of bread for a certain number of satoshis, which is the smallest denomination of Bitcoin.
Is it really? He named it after himself?
Huh? They're called satoshis.
Did he name that after himself, or did they?
I actually do not know. I think that came after.
What's the smallest amount?
Satoshi, and it's 0.0000. It's 7 zeros and a 1.
7 zeros and
That's
a 1.
one Satoshi, and I don't know what that is equivalent to right now, but we're going to start valuing assets and goods and services in Bitcoin.
Dude, that just blew my mind. That blew my mind.
Dude, it's crazy.
Joe Rogan, I hope you're listening to this right now.
There's
Your podcast got nothing on it.
I reached out to you, Joe Rogan, a few weeks ago. Okay.
nothing came back.
Yeah, nothing came back. Anyway.
Think about it. One Bitcoin at this, we have all seen that meme where 1 Bitcoin equals this, and it was like 2 pieces or 2 pizzas, and then 1 Bitcoin equals this, and it was a full grocery cart. And I said in 2020, 1 Bitcoin can buy you this, and it was a Ferrari.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to start happening, but when that starts happening, I think maybe there's a Fed coin or maybe something happens, but I don't see a US dollar being in the mix for.
That's wild. That's wild. I mean, because it already happens. Because if you buy, I have a lot of clients and investors and traders in Canada, and so they use Canadian dollars, and they obviously lose on the exchange, but they view things in their mind in Canadian dollars.
Sure.
Right. And I've already started making the switch, and this is going to be an interesting switch for you guys as well. But here's a challenge. Anytime you buy something from here on out, don't think about it in dollars. Think about it in currencies. Right? So like you say, oh man, this house costs $250,000. No, it costs $250,000 in currency. Now the Bitcoin thing blew my mind, but this is why. This is why, right? We just said, like right now, because who knows 10 years from now, but it's a paradigm mental shift, right?
You're right. You're absolutely correct.
For the example, money doesn't grow on trees, right? That's something we all heard as kids, and that's the reason we want to make some fucking trees that have money, because we want that money. We want to pick it, right? I grew up real poor,
right?
So I want to make money as much as I can and give it to as many people as I can, because that's just wealth generation. Yep. So the thing is like when you use the term money, it has like a certain stigmatism.
Sure.
Especially when you use the term dollars, it has a certain like stigmatism. But if you just say currencies, like your brain doesn't have any. There's just nothing there.
Well, I started thinking about this vision like 2 or 3 days ago when I was going onto the different exchanges and I'm trading. I go on the Waves exchange. And there's no place to look and see how much fiat you have. All it is all the cryptocurrencies.
Oh.
So I have to go into my calculator and put in...
Your brain.
My brain performs simple functions. I need a piece of paper and a pen to go the harder algorithms. But when I'm looking at all the currencies, I'm like, okay, this is all benchmarked by other cryptocurrencies. How much fiat do I own over here? So... but yes, you're right. When you're thinking about buying a house or buying something, think of it in a currency mode. And and you know what? It's that dollar sign, the S with the line through it, and what we have been accustomed to for our whole life. But if you wait until you see a B with 2 lines through it and it says 0.000, I mean,
yeah,
or you're gonna have a sign developed, and there probably already is. If there is, let us know, for a Satoshi. So 20 Satoshis will have something I don't know what it...
Oh yeah, is there a symbol,
the symbol
for
will
Satoshi?
be.
Interesting.
I'm sure there is. I know for the micro Bitcoin, there's a lowercase b.
That's cool. That's
MTCB,
really cool.
I believe, or MBTC. But
that's an interesting thought too, because a lot of people get thrown off by the decimals,
right?
And when it's a 0.00007, or they just get that just doesn't compute. In a monetary transaction.
Absolutely.
How much you sell the real life trading videos? Or the training program?
Yeah.
$100 a month or something like that?
Yeah, $119.
So you $100.
Yeah,
right?
and it has the dollar sign.
And in Bitcoin...
You're right. Shoot, there's a dollar sign there.
And in Bitcoin, it'll be 000 whatever the appropriate fraction is now.
Yeah.
But what if you use metabits or another denomination of Bitcoin, so it doesn't have, because it is confusing when you see 0.0, because
so it's like 100
you
Satoshi.
always associate anything with a point this way is bad because it's less, but actually it's more in the Bitcoin world. So that's why I think it's important for people, and I know that this is going to start happening, to start using the other denominations of Bitcoin so it can be appropriately valued.
Interesting. That's huge, man. So back to the second question, because you told me you're going to, so you blew my mind now with the second question, which is, How will the application of blockchain technology correlate to the growth of currencies on the blockchain?
Sorry, I'm a busy man. Someone was calling me. My ass was vibrating. Can you just ask that again real quick?
Yeah,
I remember
we'll just do it right here.
Okay.
Interesting. So you blew my mind. You told me you were going to do that. The second question you haven't answered yet. Now I'm going to reiterate it for you.
Okay.
Is with the blockchain application and its uses in healthcare and automotive and just everything, okay? Mm-hmm. How does that correlate to the growth of currencies presently on the blockchain?
Great question. I think that the blockchain and the token mechanic, what is a token actually doing?
Yeah.
So the first thing, and I think I've mentioned this before conducting an ICO or to properly evaluate how much that token should be worth, you need to look at what that token is actually performing from a utility task, or is it a representation of a currency, commodity, or security. We believe that there's two types of tokens. There's commodity tokens and there's security tokens. Currencies are commodities, correct? Mm-hmm. Currency commodities. So you really have to look at, you're talking about the worth of the token on a specific blockchain, for example, IOTA. You have speculators out there trading on secondary markets, but what is that token actually performing? And when you talk about the Internet of Things and what's going on there, IOTA is going to execute on a lot of challenges that we're going to be facing. So I think that you're going to have people out there speculating on it, which is going to drive price up or down, but also the usage of it. If more people are demanding that token to access the IOTA network or whatever network or to play on their blockchain, that asset is going to become much more valuable.
Interesting.
Wow. So does that make sense?
Yeah.
So I want everyone to think of
the utility of the actual
utility of the token. I want everyone to think of the blockchain, also referred to as the DLT, distributed ledger technology.
Yes.
Also for a decentralized network. Those three things are interchangeable. They're all the same thing.
So I want to bring that up for other people. There is not just one blockchain.
Correct.
So they're all clear on that. There's not like the highway, the stairway to heaven. This is the only one. Mm-mm. There are other companies, currencies, tokens. They create their own blockchain, but it's the technology that is new. Just so that we're all clear on that. That was way back at our second podcast.
Or they fork.
Right.
Ethereum's a perfect example. Everyone talks about how great Ethereum is. What Ethereum
fat
blockchain
protocol
has allowed for is a fat protocol, which means I have this
fat protocol,
big fat
protocol.
What are you? You're like big fat. Like, what is going on?
What are you doing? Are you holding a Hogan stuff?
I'm holding the blockchain. There's a big.
It's a large Jersey Mike's.
And you can just fork it all day long. You can fork the fat protocol.
You absolutely can. How many times have you forked fat protocol?
Way too many to count.
Personally, zero. But I know a lot of developers who love forking fat protocols. So the Ethereum is a blockchain that other blockchains can fork off of and create all these applications. So Ethereum is probably one of the best
Sounds like
blockchains.
A party.
Yeah, I mean.
By the way, though, in all seriousness, what did I text you 62 hours ago?
I don't remember.
About Ethereum.
Oh, buy it.
Yeah.
But
my exact words were buy as much as you could afford.
Correct.
Okay. I love Ethereum right now. I think I'll put it this way. How many times have you been hearing about Ethereum? Right now, Bitcoin is taking over Ripple. A lot of people are talking about Ripple. But Ethereum and Litecoin are so kind of like the quiet creepers. Sure. By the way, Litecoin just increased 100% in the last 2 months.
I bought some Litecoin 2 months ago.
My man.
So I'm loving it.
Yeah, there you go.
I just put it in the little corner of my wallet. Didn't even buy a whole lot of it. And just glanced upon it a couple of days ago. I'm like, wow, it's up 120%.
Yeah.
Wish I had 10,000 of it instead of 500 of it.
Yeah.
They're creeping. I think that Ethereum will be, we just talked about those verticals.
Yep.
Ethereum is going to be the blockchain that will allow those verticals to happen. Because I think it's going to be some of those side chains or an ERC Tony token, whoever is utilizing the Ethereum network and what they're allowing for will be the real drivers in whatever specific industry. But you can create a new blockchain.
The creator of Ethereum blockchain. What's his name again?
Vitalik Buterin.
Vitalik Buterin. Is
Yes.
he the smartest man on the planet?
He is. I wouldn't even know how to appropriately describe him other than sheer genius. I mean, and he's a young kid. He's just some of the things that he is able to do with analogizing and helping people understand the blockchain technology is fantastic. He is really a huge asset for blockchain and cryptocurrency advocates because he is. I mean, kid's brilliant. Brilliant.
And it's
He's
such
the man, Vitalik.
Thank you
Yeah, thanks.
for helping us create this industry, or
and
letting us be a part of it.
Yeah.
my knowledge compared to his is just minuscule.
Yeah.
Minuscule.
Very
so
minuscule.
when you
Small
can,
protocol.
you know what we're doing here and trying to help people understand and have a conversation about this technology. This conversation is not happening in many rooms across a lot of countries, but they are happening.
You made up you brought up a great point in the fact that being able to translate what digital assets are, digital currency is,
It's very important.
and being able to translate that to the masses, that's what's going to really create the boom. And the founder of Ethereum is a perfect example, or what we're doing here right now is just like putting things in layman terms, being able to translate something that is existentially difficult to wrap your mind around to somebody that's not technology savvy, but
Correct.
can still adapt this technology just like they bought an iPhone for the first time. You know what I mean? It's that barrier to entry of really understanding it enough to actually make your first purchase.
And we've referenced this, the Good Morning America video, and people trying to describe what emails were back in 90, whenever that was.
Yeah.
But the more you talk about it, the more, if you're at a restaurant or you're with your family or you're at work and it's a coffee break, the more you talk about it out there, the easier it will become to describe what it is.
Yeah,
the reason why
it's huge.
Vitalik's so good at describing what Ethereum is and what blockchain and what it can do for your specific company or your industry or how awesome it is because he's been going to conferences and going to meetings and just been speakers.
Elbows
and just,
off.
He knows what works and what doesn't.
Yeah.
Well,
And
here's
knowing your audience and you know, it's just like in any industry when you're an expert at it.
Yeah.
It's hard to speak in layman's terms.
Correct.
Because you know so much, so it convolutes how you're going to express yourself to someone who knows nothing.
Yeah.
Right. So that's what that barrier is that I'm talking about with this technology is. You know, it's still always going to be there, but like getting that gap as low as possible.
Yeah.
Through information resources like this podcast right here, and just continue to permeate that knowledge out to the masses to where they will adapt.
Absolutely. One of the things, man, that was really huge to me, I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast. I'm a big fan of Joe.
Oh my God.
Joe, you rock.
You're the man. Again, you still didn't reply to my email, but it's fine. I love you anyway.
You're busy, but you need to open that.
He was talking, and I forget the person he was interviewing, but more or less what he was saying is that nothing is created until you start describing it or talking about it. And once those doors become open, you never know where they start going because it's like ripples of a pond, right? You throw in a rock, those ripples are going to go everywhere, but you don't know exactly how they're going to look or where. But until you throw that rock, it won't ripple. Right, so until the words are spoken, you'll never know where that boundary is, where those zones are, and that's how all of this got created. Was because and that's what we're doing right now. Is we have no idea what impact this exact podcast will bring. We don't know because we're speaking words that no one else has ever spoken before. Truly,
that is very true.
And so it's like these ripples. Like 4 years from now, we might look back and go, "Oh my gosh! Like I cannot believe we said this, this, and this, and that actually happened, and this caused this." And that first podcast, meeting you. And, meeting the 3 creators, they're going to make, what's that called, Americoin?
Yes.
That's going to be an insane thing. Just all of this going down this road, this avenue that's never happened before. That is creation at its finest, and that just excites me to the...
What do you
Absolutely.
think?
It's literally chill bumps.
Is there a possibility?
That's hot dance.
I think everything's possible, but do you think there may come a time where we look back and we say, I think the most valuable thing in life is time. Do we look back and think, what the hell were we filming this shit for? Because this is all dead. And what were we thinking? I personally don't think so.
Well,
I think there's an investment of time here. But
no, this
that
is going to
could
absolutely
happen.
be worth it. And the reason is, even if this does go, somehow there's some macro legislation that ruins everything, or
It's just totally gone.
Global forces come into play and
we're
totally
idiots.
co-opt this,
Yeah.
right? Well, that doesn't mean what we're doing today is not incredibly valuable in exploring this. And this is going to take on, like you were saying, with the ripples. We don't know where it's going to go. And that's what's so exciting about it, too. And that's what draws us to this, is like, we don't know. And there are no experts. There are no entities, really, that have control. Yeah, you don't see these multi-billion-dollar entities. I mean, it's the whole essence of the technology is the decentralization, where no one can really control in a macro way what we're trying to do.
It sounds like the
It's
fourth
not a waste
industrial
of time.
revolution.
Oh,
Plug, had to plug.
I love it.
We're in a paradigm shift here.
Nick, what do you think? Well, I think that's a great wrapping up point. Nick had a lot to add to that. I think this was a great conversation, man. Wow, I'm really, really pumped about this. Are we going to work together at some point again?
Oh, yeah. Oh, we're going to make existential amount of money together.
That's your favorite word. I like that. That's a good word.
I keep using it.
It's a good word, though. It's a good word.
But it's so valuable of a word when you're talking about crypto.
Yeah.
Because everything we're doing really is like, it's never been
existential.
It's existential. Because it's not been done before.
That's right.
Like,
that's right.
I think
paradigm shift is another good one.
That's a huge
I think there's a lot of bright things in our future, in your future, because you're subscribed, because you're listening, you're learning stuff.
That's why you're here.
Just keep forking those fat protocols.
Yes.
Keep
Yes.
Keep tuning in.
Woo! And I don't care if you got $53 extra on your paycheck this week. Go buy some Bitcoin.
Yes.
Amen.
Just go buy some kind of coin. Stick with the large cap ones, though.
Yeah, large cap. Be a serious investor. You guys are amazing. Thanks so much for tuning in to the IR4 podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks
Lance,
for having me, guys.
Thanks, man. Yeah, it was a pleasure. It was a pleasure. Shout out to our sponsor, AmeriCoin. You guys rock. And until next time, love, live, learn. You guys rock.